What's up guys, Tom 5 Best here. These are the most mysterious places that scientists still can't explain. Let's get started with the Namib Desert Circles. Something strange afoot in the unforgiving landscape of the Namib Desert in the country of Namibia. If you're on the ground, you might miss it though. However, as soon as you see it from above, it stands out. Thousands of small circles dotting the landscape. The Namib Desert Circles are a mysterious and amazing natural phenomenon. These circles create an eye-catching pattern in the desert landscape because they're circular patches of bare earth encircled by a ring of tall grass. It's been noted that after rainfall, grass grows within the circles but dies soon afterwards, while grass between the circles survives for longer. Scientists found that the dead grass inside the circles had longer roots than outside, suggesting it tried harder to find water. The circles range in diameter from a few feet to over 30 feet, and scientists have disagreed greatly about where they all came from. Some researchers say the circles are caused by insects, while others say they're caused by gases escaping from the ground through the soil. Termites have been ruled out because no evidence of termite activity has been found in the circles. Due to their resemblance in shape to patterns found in other natural systems, such as coral reefs and patterns on butterfly wings, the Namib Desert Circles have recently caught the interest of scientists studying natural patterns. This has led to more guesses about the possible causes and purposes of these strange desert circles, but no one's found a way to explain them yet. Next up, though, is the Nazca Lines. The Nazca Desert in southern Peru is rocky, desolate, and hot. Really doesn't seem to be much going on here, but this landscape is the site of one of the world's greatest mysteries. This is where you're gonna find the Nazca Lines. The term Nazca Lines does not seem to do these shapes on the landscape any justice. From above, these lines make up shapes that are strangely familiar. They look more than just lines. The Nazca Lines are a collection of prehistoric geoglyphs, or large-scale artworks made by scraping away earth and rocks to leave bare earth on the ground. Simple geometric shapes to intricate representation of animals, plants, and human figures, and some of which are over 1,000 feet long, can be found in these designs. These patterns are best seen from the air and are thought to have been created between 500 BCE and 500 CE. Scientists have actually ascertained that at the base of these glyphs are mounds of rock, and inside are what looks like altars. What's even more amazing is that attached to these altars are mollusks, even though this area is about 4,000 feet above sea level. Another strange thing about the area is that the terrain is scattered evenly with ceramics, almost like the people who lived there broke ceramic pots and jars on purpose. Some experts think they were used as a form of communication, or even as a massive irrigation system. Others think they were made for astronomical or religious reasons. At this time, these strange formations keep their purpose well hidden. Up next is the Bermuda Triangle. I think there are a few of us who haven't heard of the Bermuda Triangle. Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico make up the general perimeter of the triangle. The area has become well known as a result of numerous mysterious ship and plane disappearances that have happened there over the years. Strange things have happened in the Bermuda Triangle. People have tried to explain them with everything from natural explanations to supernatural ones that involve aliens and dinosaurs. Go figure. One of the most widely used justifications for what happens here is human error. Some of the disappearances have been blamed on things like bad navigation, mechanical problems, and bad weather. Additional natural calamities are possible. Due to the region's vulnerability to severe weather, such as hurricanes and sudden storms, ships and airplanes may crash or vanish even. Some people think that there are supernatural causes at work. Theories include everything from time portals in the lost city of Atlantis to alien abductions. Now, alien abductions do sound a bit far-fetched, but there may be other reasons for the mysteries of this area. The Bermuda Triangle mystery has not been resolved despite the numerous theories that have been put forth. Some of the disappearances are still unsolved to this day, despite the fact that many of them can be attributed to natural or human causes. The number of incidents in the region is not noticeably higher than in other similarly populated ocean regions, and many of the more sensational claims about the triangle have been disproved. The fact is that for now, this mystery isn't going anywhere. Next up is the Blood Falls, though. In the white landscape of Antarctica, there is a feature that seems completely out of place. This place with blood-red water is called, go figure, Blood Falls, and its origin boggles the mind. Blood Falls is located in a remote section of Antarctica, approximately 3,500 kilometers south of Dunedin, New Zealand. It's only 100 kilometers west of McMurdo Station and the actively erupting Mount Erebus stratovolcano. Even though the water feature is close to Mount Erebus, it has been established that the volcano has nothing to do with the red color of the water. Another feature of the area is that there's less ice than on the rest of the continent. It's also rocky, reminds one of the planet Mars, especially with the red-stained ice and rocks nearby. The area is also known as the Dry Valleys and is scientifically one of the most interesting places on the planet. It's located between Taylor Glacier and a frozen lake called Lake Bonny. It features so large that it can be seen from space. The water from Blood Falls keeps flowing even at temperatures below 5.2 degrees Celsius, which really shouldn't be happening. Fortunately, that part's been figured out. The water is twice as salty as seawater. Because of this, it doesn't freeze. The red color is caused by iron oxides, but the real mystery is, why is the water so salty? Well, everyone knows glacier runoff consists of fresh water, not salt water. What's happening below the glacier hasn't been figured out, though. Scientists hope to have an answer soon, but for now, we can only wait. Next up is the Crooked Forest. Imagine you're walking in a forest with tall, straight pine trees. Just imagine suddenly coming upon a grove of these trees that are all twisted in the same direction, though. What would your first thought be? Am I high? Possibly. The Crooked Forest is a group of peculiar-shaped pine trees in West Pomerania, Poland, not far from the town of Gryfino. In the village of Nowe Cezorano, this grove of about 100 pine trees was planted in or around 1930. Each pine tree makes a sharp bend to the north just above ground level before curving back upright after a 3 to 9 foot sideways growth. The trees resemble the shape of sickles. Strangely, a forest of normal pine trees surround the Crooked Forest, though. According to a popular theory, the trees may have been twisted to produce naturally curved wood for use in furniture or boat construction. But then why are these trees still standing? One would imagine if they served a furniture-making purpose, they'd have been all cut down already. Well, others speculate that the trunks may have been bent by a snowstorm, but there is little proof of that. A snowstorm wouldn't have left the trees surrounding the grove untouched. While people speculate about the strange crooked trees, the area has been good for tourism. That makes one think, though. Even if the locals knew how and why these trees were formed, why would they give up the mystery and potentially stop tourists from coming? Next up is the Island of No Return. Why would anyone visit an island like a name with the Island of No Return? Nobody would, and that's why we know so little about it. On Kenya's Lake Turkana, there's a place that reveals a lot about the attitudes of Kenyans toward it. The strange-looking island's name, which means no return, ties into the local myths and legends by implying that no one who enters it is gonna leave it again. In the 1930s, a party of explorers learned this the hard way. English explorer Vivian Fuchs decided to visit the island in 1935 along with friends Bill Dayson and Martin Shellfields. They went to the island to see if this theory proved true. However, their absence only served to confirm the legends when they didn't show up. Yeah, they never returned again. Kenyans believe that anyone who goes into the huge crater in the middle of the island will be struck by lightning and killed. There's also a number of crazy conspiracy theories involving secret bases and aliens. The crater center appears to contain the remains of ancient huts and photographs taken by planes that have flown over it, but nobody's been bold enough to visit and personally examine it for a very long time. Not only does the idea of visiting the crater sound bad because of what could happen to you, but the sides of the crater are so steep that entry is pretty tricky. The island's mystique and intrigue continue to captivate those who hear about it, though. Hopefully in time, its mysteries will be revealed. Next up is Abu Garab. The mysterious temple of Abu Garab is about 20 minutes drive from the Great Pyramid at Giza. A building that is, or at least once was, a sun temple dedicated to the great god Ra that can be found in the old city. It once had a steep pyramid of its own. It was constructed some 2,400 years ago. We're aware that there used to be 6 sun temples at Abu Garab, but only 2 are still standing thanks to historical records from ancient Egypt. Together with the enormous stone obelisk that once marked Abu Garab's weathernmost point, they're now in ruins. Archaeologists don't know what to make of the huge red granite rocks that are all over the area, though. Doesn't seem possible that mere humans could have moved them. There are several square alabaster dishes that have markings resembling the gears of an engine, as if that weren't eerie enough on its own. Do the inhabitants have access to cutting-edge tech? If so, what happened to it, and to them? Nearby to Abu Garab is another temple called Abu Sir. Abu Sir makes the mystery even more interesting because at this second temple, there are core drill holes. With polished surfaces and holes that are so smooth, they appear to have been precisely engineered and made using cutting-edge drilling technology. The precision needed at both places meant that precision cutting equipment had to be used. Thing is that power tools didn't exist back then, so how was it done? Honestly, these questions just make Abu Garab even more mysterious and interesting, making it a place that anyone interested in the history and archaeology of ancient Egypt must visit. Next up is North Sentinel Island. We've talked about this one before, but it's still just as interesting. Q North Sentinel Island in the Indian Ocean. Living on the island, the Sentinelese are one of the world's strangest and most enigmatic tribes. They're also extremely protective of their island and kill people who get too close. The island's totally off limits to the general public. Even scientists are forbidden from approaching it. It's impossible to see anything beyond the island's shore due to the island's dense forest cover. Since the beginning of time, the Sentinelese customs have hardly changed, and although they make use of fire, it's unclear where they know how to make it themselves. Due to their inability to develop immunity to common diseases and the risk of disease transmission from contact with the outside world, the Sentinelese are protected by Indian authorities. The tribe has responded with hostility to attempts to contact them because they do act aggressively towards outsiders. Indian fishermen were killed in an attack on their boat in 2006 while they were engaging in illegal crab fishing close to the Forbidden Island. They mostly deserved that for the illegal part, but one guy who didn't really deserve it was a missionary named John Allen Chow who attempted to contact the tribe in 2018. He paid two fishermen about $30,000 to travel to the island. However, he was killed with a bow and arrow, and his body is actually still on the island, I think. It might have gotten taken away. I don't know. Don't worry though, they're not cannibals. Scientists can only make educated guesses as to what the tribe that resides there is and its ancient forest might be hiding because North Sentinel Island is still one of the least explored places on Earth. Next up is everyone's favorite subject, Stonehenge. Very few people haven't heard of Stonehenge at this point. If this is your first time, under which rock have you been staying? In Wiltshire, England, there's a prehistoric structure called Stonehenge. Standing stones that can weigh up to 25 tons and stand up to 13 feet tall make up the structure's outer ring. Even though no one knows for sure what the stones were used for, it's thought that the monument was built between 3000 and 2000 BC. According to one theory, Stonehenge served as an observatory to study the motions of the sun, moon, and stars. The stones are positioned so that the summer solstice sunrise can be seen through the monument's arches. The location also seems to coincide with some celestial occasions like the winter solstice. Another theory says that Stonehenge was a religious and ceremonial site that may have been used for ceremonies or as a cemetery for important people. Near the site, archaeological excavations turned up human remains as well as signs of celebrations and gatherings. The significance of Stonehenge is still unknown, despite years of study and investigation. Some have asserted that the monument was constructed by ancient aliens, while others think it served as a healing location, or even a landing pad for visitors from other planets. These theories, however, are unsupported by reliable data. The building of Stonehenge was undoubtedly a remarkable engineering and human skills achievement. The stones were brought to the site using simple tools and methods after being carried more than 150 miles away. Stonehenge's mystery is one of the most interesting and long-lasting archaeological mysteries of our time. Still intrigues and fascinates people from all over the world even. Next up, we got Area 51. Area 51 in Nevada makes one think of aliens and governmental secrets, as well as that one raid from a while ago. The area itself has been closed off to the public since the 1950s. Because the Roswell incident happened a few years earlier and the locals were high on alien discovery, Area 51 seemed like the ideal place to be studying aliens. Nobody's really sure where the base got its name from, but it could have been based on nuclear test sites from that era. The nuclear weapon test sites were called Area 20, Area 30, and so on. Area 51 was probably just another nuclear test site at one point. Many people who have worked in this secret base claim they've seen scientists do autopsies on alien beings. Many believe the US government is in cahoots with an alien race, developing the next great weapon. These theories are probably a bit wacky though, and the true reasons are probably far simpler to understand. The U-2 spy plane was developed at the base during the 1950s. At that time, the project called Aquatone was top secret. The U-2 was developed to fly higher than any Soviet interceptor aircraft, and that meant that the U-2s tested at Area 51 would be flying much higher than commercial airlines. Commercial airline pilots would therefore call in sightings, just because their altitude was so unusual at the time. Aircraft like the SR-71 Blackhawk, the A-12, and the A-117 Nighthawk were also developed there, and these planes kinda resembled UFOs back then, especially the F-117. In this case, though, scientists probably do know what's going on, but they're just not telling us because they've been sworn to secrecy. Or the actual truth is a lot more boring than what we think. The Lost City of Kalahari. The Lost City of Kalahari is controversial in that only one person's actually found it, and nobody else. For some reason, the story about this place persists. The mystery around the Lost City of the Kalahari makes people question whether or not it's even there. In 1885, William Leonard Hunt, a Canadian magician and explorer, also known as the Great Farini, claimed to have discovered an abandoned city of ancient ruins while trekking across the Kalahari Desert. In his report to the Royal Geographic Society, he described seeing partially buried ruins, temples that had been destroyed, cemeteries, and partially collapsed walls. His story was interesting and believable enough that 25 expeditions followed, but none of them found anything similar to what the Great Farini had described. When A.J. Clement proposed in 1964 that the magician had chosen the incorrect path through the desert and came up with a different path that Hunt might have unintentionally followed, a new theory was born. Following this path, Clement came across a number of enormous stone monoliths made up of dolerite, a rock that can erode into the appearance of straight square blocks that resemble walls. He came to the conclusion that what Hunt had actually seen was just a 180 million year old rock formation. Is it possible that Hunt and his whole party thought rocks were buildings in a city? Well, despite Clement's justification, people continue to look for the lost city of the Kalahari. Some people think that the answer is still undiscovered and that the mystery of its existence has yet to be fully explained. We're really not so sure, but the story does persist. Next up is Adam's Calendar. The Adam's Calendar megalithic stone structure can be found in South Africa. It might be the oldest man-made structure in the world because, according to some estimates, humans built it 75,000 years ago. Stones are set up in a circle here, with a monolith in the middle and two other tall stones on either side. It looks like a monument in the style of Stonehenge, really. Michael Tellinger found the calendar in 2003 and thinks it's a place to make astronomical calculations and observations. He's the one who gave the calendar its name. Tellinger thinks that the place was used as a solar and lunar observatory because of the way the stones are set up, it matches how the sun and stars move. The location of the site in relation to other megalithic structures can be found in the area, such as the ancient gold mines that are located nearby, which is another reason why the site is significant. Some researchers think that all of these old buildings were built by the same ancient civilization, and that this civilization may have been related to the Sumerian civilization that lived in Mesopotamia. Even though there's a lot of debate and guesswork about how old Adam's Calendar is and what it was used for, it's still an important site for archaeologists and historians who want to learn more about the ancient cultures and civilizations that once thrived in Africa. Next up is Ayers Rock. In the Australian outback, there's a rock formation that stands out like a sore thumb against the flat landscape. Ayers Rock, also called Uluru, is a huge sandstone rock in the middle of Australia's Northern Territory. It's one of Australia's most well-known natural landmarks and is revered by the local Anangu Aboriginal population. The rock is approximately 9.4 kilometers in circumference and 348 meters high. It has a long geological history and is thought to be 600 million years old. Throughout the day, the rock's distinctive appearance and hues change, especially at sunrise and sunset, when it seems to glow a more vivid red. The rock has come into existence thanks to a complicated series of geological events that happened over millions of years. The process is actually so complicated that nobody's quite sure what happened. There are various theories, though. The Anangu people, who have lived in the area for more than 10,000 years, think of Ayers Rock as a holy place that is important to their culture and spiritual beliefs. People who come to the area are asked to respect the rock's importance to the Anangu people and not climate, since doing so is considered a sacred act. Ayers Rock is notable for its cultural significance as well as the wide variety of plant and animal species that live there. In the nearby national park, people can do things like go hiking and camping, and they can also take guided tours to learn more about the rock's cultural and natural history. Next up is Mount Rorama. Tell me, you ever read The Lost World? Not by Michael Crichton, but by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. If so, you're going to enjoy this one. A fascinating mountain range known as Mount Rorama can be found in Guyana, Brazil, and Venezuela. Even though it is a mountain, it appears to be an island in the clouds and exists in a separate world. This mountain's been surrounded by incredibly steep cliffs for 20 million years. Because of how steep the cliffs are, the plateau is isolated from its surroundings. A 3-day hike is actually required to reach the summit, which is 2.8 kilometers high. Native Americans who lived nearby used to refer to it as the House of the Gods, and they thought that anyone who reached the top would never come back. Then British author Arthur Conan Doyle came here. He wrote the Sherlock Holmes books and was inspired to write The Lost World, which is about a place on Earth where dinosaurs still live. Doyle's book was based upon the unproven theory that there were still dinosaurs on other ancient life forms in this region. Even so, there's still many unanswered questions in this region. German explorer Uwe George, who was working for National Geographic in 1989, stated that only a small portion of the area's 44 square miles had actually been explored. None of us have discovered ancient creatures or their fossil remains here," he added. "Black frogs, dragonflies, tarantula, and plant life that are unique to this area have already been discovered, though." Our last entry for the day is Easter Island. Easter Island in the Southeast Pacific Ocean. It's famous for the mysterious moai statues that stand at the island. Polynesians first inhabited the island in the 12th century when they gave it the name Rapa Nui. The Polynesians were able to create a living civilization on the island with a complex society, distinctive art, and a written language called Rongorongo, despite being thousands of miles from the nearest land. But as Easter Island society deteriorated, its inhabitants had to deal with famine, conflict, and a lack of resources. Moai statues, which were once revered and thought of as holy, were destroyed because of the hard times. Europeans finally made their way to the island in 1722, by which time there were only a few hundred inhabitants left. One of Easter Island's biggest mysteries is how the Polynesians moved up and set up the huge moai statues, some of which weigh up to 75 tons without the help of modern tech. The statues were cut from the island's one side and transported over rough terrain to their final resting places, which were frequently far from the quarry sites. The demise of the Easter Island civilization is another unsolved mystery. Some theories contend that overuse of the island's resources caused societal and ecological collapse. According to other theories, the islanders were the victims of an invasion or a disease. Because of these mysteries, Easter Island is a unique and interesting place to visit. Visitors can enjoy the island's stunning natural beauty and learn more about its interesting history and culture. See you all next time!